You will get a lot of people there if you're casting a wide net that don't. Don't get frustrated. It's part of the game. Again, online dating and recruiting about the same, right? You might get blown off.
And I think that's why a lot of us struggle to hire as well, is because we don't know how to onboard people either.
All right. So, as everybody's aware, hopefully, we've been really focusing in on how to build a strategic plan for 2026 because we have just debuted our 2026 Insurance Agency Strategic Planner. And we've got all sorts of new things that are robustly put in here. And one of the things I'm particularly excited about is about how to hire, right? I think that this is one thing that a lot of agencies struggle with. I think some agencies make excuses for. So let's be upfront, right? Hiring has changed. But like I shared in one of our earlier podcasts, the other half of the component is that we don't have a product. So our service and our skills are a product. So you should be obsessed with not only attracting the right people, but training people to get the best experience. And I think for agencies that are just sort of stuck in the like, well, we do transactions. I don't know if that's going to work in the near future, for real. I really struggle with how much agencies struggle with hiring.
Absolutely.
I think so many agencies hire out of desperation, not preparation. And so then they're under the gun. So I think for the first step is if you are understaffed, you as the leader of if your department or owner, you need to make it your mission to use every resource possible to find people. So Stephen, I think it's really common for people that they post on Indeed, but they don't pay to post.
Right.
That does
Which
not work.
trends now say pay for what you want. It's kind of like on the airplane, pay for the seat you want, don't hope for the upgrade.
Yeah.
We need to be paying, if we're actually looking for somebody, we need to pay to help optimize the search and get people to look at the roles. I know that I get an email all over the place from people that are looking for trainers and coaches because of the way my profiles are set up online. Those are targeted to me because of a skill set. When you pay to search, it goes to more people and they try to get a broader base for you to look at.
Well, and I also think then the next step is okay, your job posting should not be this long job description. I mean, I have not dated in a very long time, but I have friends that are using the interwebs to date. And it's like you kind of just browse quickly and decide. And maybe you hit yes and maybe you hit no. Like the game has changed so much. You need a fun post. Like if you can put pictures, make it poppy, make it what's in it for you. Because to get the top talent, they're leaving because there's a challenge, a problem, something's gone different. You need to be attractive. This is like if you had your online dating post and it was like all these requirements. You must be 5'10" or must make X. Like those are your filters, okay? So put in there. And what do you say about putting the salary on the job postings?
It's a love-hate for me. I've seen both sides. I actually love posting it because we would actually get people that understand what we're willing to pay or what we do pay and make it realistic from the beginning. The downside is if we have a current team that we pay a lot less to, and then we want to bring somebody brand new in to pay more, it can cause a tension point when they see that or if they see that online.
Yeah. I also think you should. I think I'm pro. Pro for the simple reason that there are some underpaid people out there that might be like, oh, wow. Yeah, 100%. And also, if you are paying your current team less, you need to address that. Like, you need to maybe make some identifications and modifications. I also do like in Indeed and in LinkedIn, it gives you like for your area and that job, like a target range, which I think is really, really helpful. But you need to become obsessed with it. Now, the next step is you need to also put in your parameters of what you're looking for. So it's kind of tricky, and Indeed, you have to trick the system. It's not very apparent. And you still can get other people to apply, but they'll like flag them like they meet all your qualifications. So I think it's very, 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 very critical that you might start off, but then drop some of them. So if they don't have your specific management system training, and again, if you're hiring out of desperation, you need low filters. You need to talk to a bunch of people and take some chances, right? Like you might need to take that person from State Farm. You just might need to. They got a license, they're in your town. When you're hiring in desperation, you are hiring, not in the from a position of power. Okay. So I think that's another big, big one. And then as people are applying, your first step is a phone interview. And don't be surprised at how many people blow these off. Okay.
They just don't show up.
They do. But if you have a good job posting and you have, I think, the right parameters, the right people do show up. But
Mhm.
you will get a lot of people there if you're casting a wide net that don't. Don't get frustrated. It's part of the game. Again, online dating and recruiting about the same, right? You might get blown off. And I think the other half too is maybe you are struggling. Like maybe you need to be considerate of, do you want people to work hybrid? Can they work remote? I talked to a client prospect of ours and they got cut by their recruiter because they won't offer remote. And I said, well, the recruiters only got X amount of time. And if there's desperate agencies that are willing to go remote, that's like shooting fish in a barrel for them.
Right.
Are you providing an attractive opportunity? And that's a key component in finding the best people. But I will say this, I tell people all the time, I have not had to look for a job since I was
Mhm.
19. So I always was able to call somebody or network, or people were asking me, and then when the time was right, I would call them. So there is a whole component of, you need to go to the carrier events, you need to show your face, you need to network, you need to be in touch with people so that way you can find the best candidates. And once your agency is stabilized, your next step is to build the best candidates.
Right.
And I also say, I think for a lot of agencies, one of the things that we don't do very well is we don't do training very well. We need to get better at it, and
Right.
utilizing tools and resources and having procedures and having a plan. But without a plan, you're going nowhere.
Well, and what I find very entertaining is I work with a large agency who is purchased another large agency, bless them all, for doing these things. But they keep having this panic attack of hiring people. And I'm like, why don't we just have a set onboarding of like 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever those checkpoints are, and be able to hire either somebody brand new without a license and teach them to do this role, or get somebody with a license, but teach them to do it our way. I know it takes 8 weeks to get them to at least this point. We can hire multiple people, we can do one offs, it doesn't matter, but then it's done the same way across the board. And a larger agency is like overwhelmed with the thought of the clear processes. But I also work with a smaller agency that's like, the only way we're going to survive is to bring people in from that don't want to go to college after high school or on break from college. We need to recruit young and train them in the business. And they're making the videos, they're making the steps, they're setting what it needs to take. It's a nightmare the first time. Then you just have to update it once we have a viable product, right? We need to make little tweaks here or there. And I think that's why a lot of us struggle to hire as well, is because we don't know how to onboard people either.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I want to stress to people, hiring is the most important thing you make. I don't think agencies spend nearly enough time on it. So once you do find people, we just completed, hiring 6 people. I still keep the job post out on a very, very the minimum budget because, it's interesting to me. I learned so much through the process of how important the personality test is. Like, oh my God, I would be in love with some candidates. I do 200, like, so help me God, this is a person. And they would flail the personality test.
Yeah.
Because I can't get to know them. They have the skills, they're charismatic, they can hold a good conversation. We believe in the same things, but they can't work here.
Right.
And in the past, I think we would hire people and get really excited about them, and then something would happen, like they weren't happy, we weren't happy, maybe they weren't as attention to detail, or they wanted to be liked, not drive results, things like that, where it's like, this is a really hard role to hire for in our company. And so I'm going to use every tool I can. And by the way, I spent so much money hiring. Like when the counting settles it all up, I'm probably going to want to vomit.
I do.
Yeah.
But we're hiring forever, not for today.
Yeah. Well, and also the cost of a bad hire, right? So between personality profiles, my time, the boosting of the post, we did LinkedIn and Indeed. And, interesting, we found different candidates for different things. So now I have a lot more intelligence doing it next time. So when we put this in our strategic planning of how to hire, I paid the tuition for you guys. Trust
Yes.
me.
Not only experience, but the actual dollars it takes to do it well.
Yeah.
I,
And
I
I mean, we fly out to meet our final candidates, like, because we're all remote. And I know Stephen came with me on a couple of them, and some people thought that was crazy. And I'm like, I even have dinner with their spouse or their significant other
right.
because you spend a lot of time and we're all remote. Like, I need to know that you're not cray cray on the background.
Well, and we just need to make sure that it's a good cultural fit as well.
Yeah, and
Like,
so you can have dinner with the person, it's not awkward, not like ugly, and I can have dinner with your spouse and they look at me and know that, hey, sometimes we are going to need to have some opportunities, right? Like where you might have to work a little late, or sometimes it's just going to be a different opportunity. Like, makes sense, right? But I
yeah.
think so many times people just missteps because they're just, oh, well, let's get this over with. That's like marrying after 2 dates.
Hmm. Not the best.
No.
I also know on the flip side, I hate to harp on the onboarding, but when we do our interviews with teams during an assessment, they're like, it's like a revolving door here. We get somebody in, they're here for a couple of weeks, then they're gone again.
Yeah.
And the underlying reason is normally either it wasn't a good cultural fit or the person wasn't given the tools needed to be successful in the way you thought success was viewed.
That's a good point. It's a good point. Well, and I know like we as a training company have a long, extensive onboarding. That's a question I get from a lot of hires. Like, what's onboarding like? And I tell them a year and they're like, a year? I'm like, our contract's a year. Like, you
Yeah.
can't, like, it should actually be a year and a half so you can see the full thing and renew, and like when you actually know what we're doing. And I think, we do something different, but I feel like we have to find the best of the best. And so if I have to find the Navy SEALs, we have to have an advanced training process. But Stephen, what do you think? I mean, I feel like a lot of agencies feel like victims of hiring, right? Like, oh, it's so hard, so we're just not going to do it.
We're just gonna bend and weave to the existing team's demand and not make them do anything in fear of they'll leave. So we'll just suffer in silence. I mean, we have a talent gap in our industry. There's the OGs that should probably be retiring if they haven't already. And there's people that are brand new to insurance. There's a whole lot of people that have that like trifecta of no multiple carriers, no different systems, know how to work efficiently in a role that have 10 to 15 years experience that don't want X amount of pay or don't want to be in a leadership role.
Yeah.
Like I know when I started in insurance in the early 2000s, it was not a sexy career. I mean, it was actually, I was part of a recruitment process during a talent gap in insurance. I learned from somebody who should have retired while I was being onboarded, yet continued in insurance for 20 some more years. So I think we need to just keep in mind that we need to be able to train some people up. We need to take some talent that's existing and put them in the right roles. And we need to honor the other people as well that have done this, but maybe need to share some knowledge with the other people.
I wanted to say one more thing before I let everybody go too. If your agency is kind of stuck culturally, like it feels really like rain clouds and just and everything's really hard, that is your sign to get new energy in. You either got to confront it and see if it gets better. And if you're fearful it's going to get worse, if you confront it, that is 100% your sign. You need to get new energy.
Yes.
I mean, we've been there too. And sometimes it's just like WTF, like, and sometimes new energy, like the bar rises. It's a little bit more competition. People follow the processes a little bit more, right? We're overstaffed now. Yes, you don't have power and control now.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. So now, yeah, everyone's going to do something a little different, right? And don't be surprised if sometimes they try to take the new person down by not training them, which is also why you need a clear onboarding process too.
Absolutely.
That works. So, Stephen, if people are interested in how we hire, tell them about our 2026 planner, because the how to hire guide is included because we're so passionate about this as a tool people need for 2026.
Okay, so I might have thrown a fit the first time I saw our planner because it was large and complex and very complicated looking. Then I sat down and started going through it, and I was like, shut up. This is amazing. What? We're talking about this? And I started using it with a lot of the agencies I worked with and picked up the phone and called people and was like, you need this in your life. So the 2026 planner is new and updated, better than last year's. It includes things like hiring, building a culture, a cultural survey, going through and just making sure that we're getting a gauge, but also giving us some of those benchmarks of I should be checking in on goals monthly, not just once a year, or how do we really build some of the plans to make sure that they happen and that we don't just talk about them. So there's a lot of great resources and tools in the annual planner that I myself am obsessed with. And I think that you, once you get it, will love it as well.
Yeah. And don't forget, like, if you're like, I need to hire, guess what? You get the planner, you get our guide on how to hire. How cool is that? I
Yes.
mean, that's like instantaneous. we have an AI component, how to effectively use AI. And again, like we don't need to go putting everybody's information out on in a digital platform we're not completely certain of. We're going to talk about retention and the need to focus in on retention because the market's going to be choppy. So check it out. It's going to literally give you how you can build your plan, but then literally, oh my God, we need hiring. Now you have your game plan right there. So you can just put that into play effective January 1. So check it out. It goes up in price on November 1st, but you can buy it anytime. So get it while it's hot, people.
Get it while it's hot.
All right, Stephen. Well, I will see you in our next podcast. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful.
All right. Bye.